Chapter 62, Part 1. Mark released the vice grip on his brother's neck, only to have Jess immediately squeeze him with her own hug. "Where's everyone else?" she demanded, with her arm still wrapped around her brother-in-law. "They're camped about 15 or 20 miles from here. Your friend sent some people back with Jeff to pick them up in your trucks," Mike explained. "Is everyone okay?" "Pretty much. The trip was real hard on Mom and the babies, but they'll be okay. As soon as they get a little nutrition and rest, they should be as good as new. The trip was a lot harder than I thought it would be." "How?" Mark asked. "Well, it obviously took us a lot longer than I thought it would, and we didn't have the right stuff for bugging out on foot. I never imagined a scenario where we wouldn't be able to drive our vehicles to your place. I knew we might have to drive some back roads, but I never expected to have to walk. I mean, coming here was just a backup plan anyway. I really expected to be able to ride out almost anything at home, and I just didn't understand the reality of bugging out on foot for what ended up being around 230 miles. In fact, even though I thought I was prepared, I found out I was about as close to a real survivalist as an armchair quarterback is to Joe Montana. We started out with things we didn't need and left behind simple things that really would have made a difference." Mark was intrigued by his brother's comments and was about to ask him to expound on them when his truck and the Blazer pulled up. He bounded to the truck and found himself in an embrace with his mother. She looked very tired, and her normally flawless appearance was absent. "Mom, it's so good to see you. I was starting to think you'd never get here." "I was afraid we wouldn't either, son. I can't tell you how happy I am that we are," Patricia Turner said. When her son led her out of the bear hug, he saw tears in her eyes. He hugged her to him again. "It's all right, Mom." When he released her from the second hug, she was immediately clasped by David, who told his grandmother how worried he'd been about her. Mark hugged and greeted each member of the arriving party. All of them were much thinner than they had been the last time he'd seen them. When he got to his father, he was shocked at how gaunt the eldest Turner was. His clothes hung on him like a weathered scarecrow. Mark was almost afraid to squeeze him too tightly, for fear of breaking him in two. His fear was quickly relieved, however, when his father clenched him in a vice-like grip that defied his 70 years. "I've prayed every day that you get here, Dad." "Then both of our prayers were answered, son. I've prayed every day that you'd be here. I don't think your mother or the young ones could have made it much further," Andrew Turner said as he looked at his son. The older man, though much thinner and older-looking, had a look in his eyes that Mark couldn't remember ever seeing before. He wondered about it for a second. "I hate to be rude," Andrew told his son, "but do you think we could get something to eat? We haven't had a decent meal in weeks." "Of course, Dad." Mark slung his arm around his father's shoulders. "Jess, can we get the kitchen going?" "That's just what I was thinking," she replied. "Okay, everybody, you can have whatever you want, but I can have eggs and biscuits ready in a flash." Everyone agreed that eggs would be wonderful. The newcomers all sat down around the picnic tables, and several people followed Jess into the kitchen to help her cook. Manny sent David, whose arm was healing miraculously fast, to his house to get more eggs. "Tell us about your trip," Gunny prodded. Mike took in a deep breath through his nose and then blew it out of his mouth. "Well, we started out on September 19th, but you all already knew that from the note I left you. Gunny told me you found it. I should really start out by telling you that I never expected a situation where we'd have to leave home for more than a few days, and I never dreamed we wouldn't be able to drive. We were totally underprepared to bug out on foot. Thank goodness Jeff and Monica had done some backpacking before they had the kids. They had a couple of good packs and some other stuff that really saved our bacon. I only had an old army pack and frame that I'd bought on a whim once. Other than that, all we had were the kids' school backpacks and a camo day pack I used for hunting. Oh, and a duffel bag with shoulder straps. Monica's kids had a big red wagon, the kind with the wood sides that go up about 15 inches. It would hold all three of the kids, even if they were asleep. They were packed in tight, but it was a lot better than carrying them. Also, Dad had that big flatbed wagon he uses in the garden. Without the wagons, we'd never have made it. Anyway, we loaded up sleeping bags, tents, a couple of tarps, a bunch of MREs and canned food, plus some dry goods, along with canteens, some pots and pans, and a few clothes. Then we passed out a long gun and a handgun with ammo to everyone except the little kids. A couple of us took some extra guns in our packs, mostly pistols, but 22 rifles as well. The packs were all pretty heavy, but I figured we'd eat up canned goods first, and that would lighten up the load quickly.